So good evening to one another present here. So before starting, I request all the participants to kindly mute your audio till the end of the session. If you have any queries to be asked to our distinguished speaker, you can ask them through the chat box which is provided here. So once again, a very warm welcome to all the participants who have registered for the national webinar series. So today we are here to kickstart the proceedings of our national webinar series, which is titled as Prospects and Career Opportunities in Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, The Way Forward, which is conducted by the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, Kanjirappalli. So at this moment, I am very happy to welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Arun D.I., scientist from Composite Materials Entity, VSSC, ISRO Trivandrum, as well as Dr. Chakravarti from IAST Trivandrum, our Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, manager, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, students, faculties, industrialists from various reputed institutions across India, research scholars, and everyone else who is present here. To start with the proceedings, I would like to invite Dr. John Felix Kumar, Head of the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, to deliver the welcome address. So over to you, Dr. John Felix Kumar.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. As Head of the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, Kerala, I welcome you all for the National Webinar Series on Prospects and Career Opportunities in Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, The Way Forward, through this online platform. First and foremost, I invite Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, our beloved Father Manager, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, who provides inspiring leadership to all, to inaugurate the National Webinar Series with his blessings. I welcome you, Father. Next, I invite Dr. Arun, Scientist, Composite Materials Entity, VSSC, ISRO, Trivandrum, and Dr. Chakravarti, Associate Professor, IAST, Trivandrum, to deliver talk on a rendezvous with opportunities in material science on this first day of the webinar. Our institute, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, Kanjirappalli, a Christian institution managed by the Catholic Diocese of Kanjirappalli, is the first new generation engineering college in Kerala to secure the prestigious NBA accreditation for prime departments, and the first engineering college having NAC accreditation with A grade. Our department, Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, ever since the inception in 2012, has continued its glorious expedition, enlightening young minds to explore the world of materials. AJC is proud to be the only college in Kerala offering this unique stream of metallurgical and materials engineering in academic excellence. About this webinar, the webinar series is aimed at the creation of awareness related to the significance of materials engineering among the general public. The talks in the webinar series discuss the scope, various career prospects, and job opportunities available in the field of metallurgical and materials engineering. It will be highly beneficial for students who wish to pursue an engineering career, as well as those who are currently doing their graduation. The webinar series consists of 8 talks from eminent scientists and professors from reputed institutions on a weekly basis. The topics include a rendezvous with opportunities in material science by Dr. Arun, VSSC Trivandrum, and Dr. Chakravarti, IAST Trivandrum. Properties that cannot be predicted from the periodic table by Dr. Shaju K. Albert, IGCAR Kalpakam. Opportunities awaiting materials engineers in the welding sector and quality inspections by Mr. Sherin Thambi, AJC Kanjirappalli. Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, What You Learn and Where You Learn by Dr. Rajesh, VIT University, Vellore. The role of metallurgy and material scientists in Indian space research programs by Professor K. Srikumar, retired Group Director, VSSC Trivandrum. Scope and opportunities in metallurgical and materials engineering for an engineering aspirant by Professor K. Narasimhan, Head of the Department, Indian Institute of Technology.
Now I would like to invite Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, our beloved manager, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, to deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, Father.
Okay. Good evening to everybody. The chief guest of this hour, Dr. Arun D.I., scientist, VSSA, ISRO Trivandrum, Professor K. Sri Kumar, retired Group Director, ISR at Trivandrum, and our former HOD, Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Amal Jyoti. Dr. Felix Kumar, HOD of the same department, keynote speakers and delegates from different parts of India, deans, heads of departments, faculty, members of organizing committee, Mr. Vishnu, Marin, and Ms. Anjali, and my dear friends. I am much delighted to attend the opening session of this ambitious national webinar series on prospects and career opportunities in metallurgical and materials engineering, the way forward, organized by Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, Kanyirapalli, Kerala. I congratulate the HOD, the conveners, and the entire department on the successful conduct of this national webinar series on one of the most relevant topics in every sector. Think about it. The Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Silicon Age, the major eras of civilization have always followed on the heels of new materials. Materials are the key to the next generation of energy and defense technologies in medicine, transportation, and computer applications. Metallurgical and materials engineering break through the bottleneck between today's challenges and tomorrow's solutions. It is an interesting multidisciplinary area to study which can lead to an international career and is even suited for girls also. This stream of engineering is in fact the mother of all branches of engineering. Since no engineering is possible without metals and alloys, it is always considered as a most productive branch of engineering and science. Amal Jyoti is proud to be the only college in Kerala offering this unique stream of engineering. We train the next generation of metallurgical and materials engineers to work with industry, entrepreneurs, and scientists. Together, we tackle the materials of the future. For Amal Jyoti, conferences, workshops, and seminars are a regular feature. As you know, Amal Jyoti, the flagship educational institution of the Diocese of Kanyirapalli, is one of the top-notch engineering colleges in Kerala. A NAC A-grade college, we are the first new generation engineering college in the state to secure NBA accreditation. The college offers BTech in 10 branches, MTech in 8 specializations, and MCA in 2 streams, with a hostel capacity of 2,500. We have very good results and placements. Amal Jyoti has an excellent technology business incubator and a startup center named Startups Valley, housing 32 budding companies. Of late, we have given predominance to the practical-oriented teaching learning process. And in order to improve the employability of our students, we have established industrial tie-ups with MNCs and nationally rated companies such as Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles Limited, Royal Enfield, Bosch, Yamaha, Nest Group, Kempi India, V-Guard Industries, CDAC, and IIT Bombay. We are also collaborating with the above industries in research and developmental initiatives as well. To crown all, we are extending excellent support to research activities. Thanks to all keynote speakers and delegates of this webinar series. Wishing you all a very productive session. I formally inaugurate this national conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father, for your really inspiring words. Now I request Dr. John Felix Kumar to introduce our distinguished speaker to the participants. Over to you, John, sir.
Well, I take this opportunity to introduce our speaker, Dr. Arun. Dr. Arun is a scientist at Composite Materials Entity of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, ISRO, Trivandrum. He is responsible for design, analysis, and realization of composite gas bottles for various mission of ISRO. His area of interest includes application of smart materials and structures as a replacement for the current complex spacecraft mechanisms, shape memory polymer nanocomposites, shape memory gels, and focus on biomedical applications of materials, origami in space-based structures. To his credit, he has published a book titled Shape Memory Materials with CRC Press, Taylor and Francis Group, which addresses the basic principles, synthesis, fabrication, applications of smart materials, specifically shape memory materials. In addition to the book, he has generated many research articles recovery technologies, planetary exploration technologies, etc., which are published with popular referred journals and magazines. And also, Dr. Chakravarti will also join, is currently Associate Professor, IIST Trivandrum. I request Dr. Arun and Dr. Chakravarti to initiate the webinar series with their initial talk on a rendezvous with opportunities in material science. I request Dr. Arun to continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, fine. So good evening all. Hope all of you are safe against the current corona condition. Wear mask whenever you're going out and keep social distancing, be safe, and let's declare our solidarity to the health workers who are trying hard to keep us safe. Okay. Now let us come to the topic. We are going to discuss about a rendezvous with opportunities in material science. Hope you are familiar with the figure in the background. It is actually a few astronauts or scientists working with the planetary surface in some other planet. We can hopefully it is a moon, because we are seeing the gray soil, regolith. Lunar soil is called regolith. And this is a conceptual picture by NASA, which is going to get realized very soon in the coming years. Let us read the topic once again: rendezvous with opportunities in material science. In the current context of the competitive world, these three terms are very significant: rendezvous, opportunity, and material science. What is a rendezvous? It's a meeting at an agreed time and a place. That is the meaning of the word rendezvous. Then opportunity, a set of a time or a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something is called opportunities. A time or set of circumstances that make us do something is called an opportunity. Material science is an interdisciplinary branch of science and engineering, studying the properties and the processes through which the material is fabricated or applied. Okay, and let us go to the term opportunity first. We are defining it with three keywords: time, circumstance, and possibility to do something. So first is time, which talks about three keywords: choice, target, and path. This tells about choice of time, when to do something. Okay. Second one, target says what to do. Okay. Path says how to do. So time, as a keyword time, when we look into, three aspects are there. One is choice, second one is target, third one is path. circumstance, which is coming as a keyword in the opportunity definition of opportunity. We have three aspects there also. Readiness to fail. You should be ready to fail. Then only you can grow. So and not to stop with the failure. Do not get suppressed by negativity. Fight for your ideas. Whenever you have an idea, fight for it, and make memories. Whenever you are talking with people, whenever you are doing with an event, make it a memory. And last keyword, possibility of doing something. Aspire, dream, and plan. What is aspiration? Aspiration is something which you want to become. You want to be a scientist. You want to be an engineer. That is aspiration. You mix a bit of passion in your aspiration, you get dream. We had a president who always urged every one of us to dream big, right? Dr. Abdul Kalam. So aspiration, when you mix with a little bit of passion, you get dream. And when you mix dream with a bit of systematic approach, you get the realized outcome. So aspire, plan, and a systematic aspire, dream, and a systematic plan is what defines opportunity. Now let us go to evolution. You are well versed with this picture. You might have studied it in schools and colleges, or schools, that we have evolved from our great grandfathers, chimpanzee, and finally we have become humans, and now we are superhuman. So evolution gives the solution to problems faced at each stage of life. So why to evolve? Because we wanted food. Okay, we evolved because we wanted food, more food. And what to evolve? We had to evolve based on our the availability of tools and weaponries to hunt. When to evolve? When you are hungry, you are looking for food. How to evolve? It is the development of newer technologies. How the newer technologies evolve? By means of newer materials. So we have a problem. We identified a problem, and for attaining the solution, we have to go through a series of with the support of evolution as well as intelligence, we are arriving at a solution. The ideas, thoughts, material, realization, and system are the step-by-step systematic approach towards a solution. There also you can see materials are highlighted in red because it is one of the major and the center of attraction in this kind of a approach. We learn about materials. Hope you are familiar with the term space elevator. It's actually a concept of transportation system planned to take men and material to space without a rocket or a launch vehicle. This concept works very similar to, I'll show you here. This is a smiley ball, which we can use to represent Earth, and this is a counterweight which is attached to a thread. Okay, now when we attach this to the surface of the Earth, it will rotate along with the Earth. Okay, this is how a space elevator is conceptualized. A counterweight will be rotating along with Earth and will be attached with a thread, and this thread should be entirely made of very strong material which can have transportation from surface of the Earth to the counterweight. This is how a space elevator works. So this concept was proposed by Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in early 20th century, but we were stuck in a place where we didn't have material to fabricate this kind of a concept. So for that only, many proposals have come, and out of that, we finally discovered that carbon nanotube, carbon material are having very high strength, to around 100 to 200 GPa strength, gigapascal strength, which can take this load of moving up of this men and material from space in the space elevator. Elevator means lift only. Now, this is a single sentence. A current world order demands the development of science and technology, science and engineering, and opportunities using advanced materials as building blocks. You can see the background is a space platform, scientific platform, which is planned in the orbit of our moon by NASA to study regarding the materials in outer space. Okay, which will give to which will lead us to many of the solutions and answers. Material science is an art, and material scientist is an artist. Now, it is basically the design and discovery of newer materials, one of the oldest form of engineering and applied science, and it is analytical thinking from chemistry, physics, engineering to understand the phenomenological observations, a discipline hybridizing metallurgy, ceramics, solid state physics, and chemistry. Many of the most severe problems in scientific world are ending up in the question of having a better material. And any breakthrough in material science are likely to affect future of technology significantly. This reminds me of one concept called butterfly effect, where a flapping of wing of a butterfly can cause a tornado in somewhere else in the somewhere else. So it is similar to our corona. Somebody's has consumed meat without looking at the genuinity. It has caused viral infection to the entire world. So like that, effect of one discovery can extend to very important aspects in the future of the technologies. Understanding how the history of the material, its structure, the properties and the performance of the material is coming under material science, and it branches into metallurgy, polymer chemistry, solid state physics, nanotechnology, biomaterial, etc. Now, Dr. Chakravarti can take over. Sir, your voice is not coming.
So far, you have heard Dr. Arun, and this whole webinar series is about the material science and engineering. So before getting into the actual theme of this particular webinar, you need to understand what is material science, which is going to focus only on metals and alloys. So when you study the branch of metallurgy and material science, you would be covering, or you would understand the behavior of a variety of materials, including metals and alloys. So this is absolutely an interdisciplinary branch of engineering, which is going to encompass different other disciplines. Starting from, say, if you need to understand the science behind those materials, you need to know the physics and chemistry of it. So chemistry, say for example, steel. If I say steel is a alloy of iron and carbon. You need to know how much amount of carbon should be added to iron so that it becomes a steel, so that it is going to have the requisite properties. So there comes your chemistry, and your physics is something which is going to dictate the mechanical properties of the material. So you need, suppose if some load is exerted on the material, and you need to understand how it is going to behave, so that whether it is going to have a higher strength or lesser strength, or whether it is going to have very high hardness or very less hardness. So for all these understanding, you need to get into the actual science of these materials. So this particular branch of engineering is going to give you a complete insights on the way how material is going to respond to external factors, and also it is going to help you in judiciously selecting the right material for certain applications. And also in the metallurgy engineering, you also study how metals are extracted from ores. Say, suppose for example, if I take aluminum is not found directly in the earth crust. It is available in the form of a bauxite. So how do you convert this bauxite, which is hydrated aluminum oxide, and how do you convert this hydrated aluminum oxide to pure aluminum? How do you extract aluminum from that particular ore? So you will also be exposed to such science as how extraction of metals are going to happen. And other than that, you also have different types of metallurgy, which is called as physical metallurgy, chemical metallurgy, process metallurgy, mechanical metallurgy. So these are all going to give you the insights of those metals when it is exposed to different kinds of loading conditions as well as different ambient conditions. Next slide. Yeah. So as father said, that the materials are named, the ages are named after the materials. So the Paleolithic man can be traced to Stone Age, and it has been termed as Stone Age. And the next we had Bronze Age, and then subsequently we had Iron Age, and then Steel Age, and then Silicon Age. So when you just look at the history, it is all named based on the materials, and this itself is going to give you an idea as how important the materials are for the revolutionizing, for the revolutions that had happened so far. And ceramics is something which is also a branch of a material, and this is certainly going to be used in many branches of engineering where you have very high temperatures. Suppose, for example, if you just look at the picture which is in the bottom of this particular slide shows you a different launch vehicles, starting from SLV-3, which is satellite launch vehicle, and then to the latest development which is being pursued, the single small satellite launch vehicle. So we have a variety of launch vehicles, and if you take one particular launch vehicle, this particular launch vehicle is going to experience at one point very high temperatures, and then on the other end it is going to have very low temperatures. So for example, we also have a cryo engine in which the temperatures are at the order of sub-zero levels, say 70 Kelvin. And when you look at the materials which are used in the nozzle side, where you see plumes of gases burning out, which is in red color, there the temperatures can go up to say 2000 degrees centigrade. So in one particular launch vehicle itself, you have extreme temperature difference, and you will not be able to use one single material for all these applications. So obviously you have to use different materials. If you want to choose the right material for a certain application, then this particular branch of engineering is definitely going to help you in understanding the basics of each and every material, so that you will be able to judiciously apply the right material for the right application. So Dr. Arun, please hold your mic close to your mouth so that everyone is audible.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chakravarti. Since we have talked about space, a small introduction into ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. We have begun in 1962 as INCOSPAR, International Corporation of Space and Research, in Turles, in a place called Tumba. Turles gives the expansion as Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station, where our first sounding rocket was launched. Then we have came through the launch of Aryabhatta. We have come to Rakesh Sharma's. Rakesh Sharma has visited space in Soyuz T11 in 1984. Then Chandrayaan 1 in 2008, Mangalyaan mission, the first mission which has gone successful, and Chandrayaan 2, where we couldn't soft land the lunar module, but still we have reached the moon surface, and we are looking up at Chandrayaan 3 and future missions for sending astronauts called Gaganyaan. Space, as you know, as defined by all these movies, everybody is well versed with the term space. A vast vacuum area beyond the surface of the atmosphere is what we call, beyond the surface of Earth or beyond atmosphere is what we defined as space. If at all you people have not seen these movies, these are very good movies which are good for engineering as well as scientific aspirants, science aspirants. Now, space exploration. Why we require space exploration? That's a question which can be asked anywhere to a scientist who is working in this area. Curiosity is the first answer that comes, because we want to know about many of the answers to many of the questions whichever we get every day, like meteorites, comets, everything will give answers how life is formed on Earth and other planets. Another, to address the fundamental questions about our universe. Where did we come from? Where did life originated? Moon, Mars, all these, how it came into existence. Then expanding of technology. Remember that long back when World War has happened, many of the best technologies came from world wars only, like wireless mobile, aeroplane, everything came as an outcome of world wars only. Like that, space technology has given a lot of new materials, like Dr. Chakravarti mentioned, materials with very high strength and lightweight materials and different types of alloys. Then industries, people like you are going to look for a job once you get out of the institution. So these kind of industries or these kind of exploration will provide jobs for our intellectual resources. And this is, and last but very importantly, knowledge exchange and survival. Now, Dr. Chakravarti.
Okay, so the materials which are used in space. Arun was mentioning about the space elevator, and every time when we launch something to space, that is a satellite, it is going to be there at very high altitude. Say, for example, at 36,000 kilometers altitude from the Earth's surface, or at an altitude of say around 200 to 800 kilometers. So space is considered to be very harsh for any material to survive. It is not very benign, or it is not very comfortable, or it is not very convenient as it is going to stay on the Earth's surface. Say, suppose when you have any steel which is kept outside for say 1 or 2 days on the Earth's surface, you see that immediately it is going to rust. In particular to the steel material which is used for construction. So in 2 or 3 days, you see that the steel is going to turn slightly light brown in color, which means that it is going to get rusted. And similarly, when you're going to use materials in space, the corrosion, we call this, the rusting is, we call it as a corrosion. And this corrosion is going to be more pronounced in space, right? And if you want to use any material which should not rust, then you need to have a knowledge on the variety of materials. Then only you will be able to select the right material for space applications. So the influence of atomic oxygen is going to have a pronounced effect on rusting any material which is available in space. So if for selecting a material for a spacecraft or a satellite or a launch vehicle, you need to understand the properties of the material. So this particular branch of engineering is going to definitely help you in understanding the properties, so that you will once again have a judicious selection of this material for a certain application. And the temperatures are going to be very high. Say it is going, the temperatures are going to fluctuate between plus 150 to minus 100 degrees centigrade. So at very high temperatures and at very low pressures, you always have deterioration of the material properties. A normal material which is used on the Earth's surface cannot be useful or cannot be used for a spacecraft which is being exposed to 100 to 150 degrees centigrade, and when it is going to be in the shadow of the Earth, the temperatures are going to be minus 100 degrees centigrade. So there is always going to be some fluctuation in terms of temperature, and the material should withstand to the temperature fluctuations. So what kind of material should be used for that applications? And in the right hand side of the slide, you see a space shuttle picture. And during during the re-entry of the space shuttle, the aerodynamic friction can lead to temperatures at the order of say 2000 to 2500 degrees centigrade. So you need to devise materials to withstand to very high temperatures to ensure the passenger safety. So space shuttle is something which is going to go out of the influence of Earth's gravity. It is going to get into the space, and then it is going to return back to the Earth. And during the returning to the Earth, that is, we call it as a re-entry. And during the re-entry point, we have very high temperatures being generated because of the friction developed by air. So what sort of material should be used? So we cannot use aluminum, which is going to melt at 600 degrees centigrade, because the temperatures will be at the order of 2000 degrees centigrade. And at the same time, the material should also have good strength at higher temperature. So you should be pondering upon what materials will satisfy the requirements at that particular temperature or load combination, and then you have to choose the right material for that particular application. So unless until you understand the science behind the materials, you will not be able to select the right material for that application. And that is why this particular branch is always going to enlighten you with different properties and the science as how these properties are achieved in any particular material, say it be the polymer or it be the ceramics or metals and alloys or composites, whatever it be. You're going to understand the science of these materials so that you can really make a good choice for any kind of application. Yeah, Arun.
Adding to what Dr. Chakravarti told, we have people staying in International Space Station. So the radiation protection is also a significant aspect while deciding the material which can survive high radiations, gamma radiations, X-rays and UV radiations from sun and other stars and deep space should be resisted by the material so that our people, our astronauts or scientists in space are safe against all these radiations. Thank you, Dr. Chakravarti.
Yeah.
Now, let us go to, we have seen material, what is material and what are the properties and all which are required. So what are the different type of material we will just look into? As Dr. Chakravarti mentioned, the ceramics, metals, polymers and composites are different category, a broad category of the materials when we look up into material science aspect. Ceramics are for higher temperature up to around 2000 degree, 2500 degrees Celsius, and metals will resist maximum up to 800 degrees Celsius. Polymers can resist up to 250 to 300 degrees Celsius. And composite materials are a combination of either of these materials which can have properties of any of these materials, superior properties than any of these materials. We will see in detail of all the materials in the subsequent slides. And out of material that are being used in space application, mostly we go for alloys because they have superior properties than their metal counterparts. So aluminum alloys, titanium alloys, inconel alloys for oxygen storage. Then we go for composite materials, glass epoxy composite, carbon epoxy and aramid epoxy composite, which we will see in the subsequent slides. And ceramic thermal protection systems. As Dr. Chakravarti was mentioning, whenever a re-entry module, whenever a space shuttle or a re-entry module enters the Earth's atmosphere, due to the aerothermal effect or high temperature caused because of the friction of the air, the temperature material need to be surviving that temperature. For that, we use silica phenolic or carbide, silica phenolic and carbide combination tiles, which can take up that much temperature. Now the material paradigm, Dr. Chakravarti can tell this.
Yeah, that's what have been telling you regarding the science behind every material. Say, for example, if you want to use any material for any specific application, you need to manufacture it first. Say, for example, you have a raw material. Say, for example, you take a utensil which is being used for domestic purpose. So how you just think of how that utensil is made. So what should be the raw material and all those, right? Say, for example, if you want to make a utensil from a sheet metal, you need to understand the flowability of that particular material, whether it is going to flow or not. You all might have seen in the roadside shops where a blacksmith is going to sharpen his axe by repeatedly hammering it at higher temperature. Say, if you want to sharpen his axe, what a blacksmith will do, he'll start heating it to higher temperature, say at the order of say 700 to 800 degrees centigrade, and then he'll start hammering it so that he can easily sharpen it, right? There, why should he heat it to very high temperature? why is he not hammering it at room temperature itself? So this is for steel. So steels are heated to slightly higher temperature and then they are hammered so that it causes the material to flow or deform so that it takes up the desired shape. So there the objective or intention is to sharpen the material. So the sharpening is made by heating the material and then repeatedly hammering it. So this is what is called as processing. So if you want to process any material, so say processing is something which has 5 categories. The one which I told you comes under forming category, that is the hammering or forging we call it as. And then you heat it to higher temperature, make it into a liquid, and then you pour it into a mold so that it gets the shape of the mold. So that's a casting process. So similarly, there are different processing techniques which is going to give the desired shape to the material, right? And if you want to enhance the properties of the material which is manufactured, then you need to understand the science behind the processing. So this metallurgy and material science branch is not only going to give you the insights about the selection of the material for a certain application, but also how to manufacture it. Suppose if you are given a certain material to make it into a desired shape, then you need to know what kind of manufacturing technique should be applied to that particular material so that it gets into the desired shape. So unless until you understand the science of the material, you will not be able to decide what kind of processing technique should be applied to that particular material. So for example, if you take ceramic, the say the bathtubs or the wash basins, the one which is commonly seen in every household, the wash basins are made up of a ceramic material. So this ceramic material, you will not be able to melt it at all because it is going to have very high temperature. You cannot process it by means of a casting process. Casting is something in which you heat it to very high temperature so that it becomes a liquid or it becomes molten, and then you pour it into the mold cavity so that it takes up the desired shape. So that particular material cannot be cast at all. And similarly, the same wash basin material, you go and start hammer it, it is going to break. You cannot also apply mechanical forces to deform it or to get into a desired shape. You can't even hammer it. So these two processes are ruled out for the ceramic process. And similarly, you have metals which are going to have lower strength, and also metals which are going to have much higher strength. So lower strength materials can easily be processed by hammering. As what I told you, steels are generally heated to higher temperature and then they are hammered so that it gets the desired shape. And similarly, you need to understand what kind of materials can be processed under what techniques. So unless until you know how the materials are going to behave, you will not be able to choose the right manufacturing technique also. And that is why this particular slide shows you the materials paradigm in which the 4 pillars of the material science, we call it as the 4 pillars, which is the processing, the structure, the properties, and the performance. These are the 4 pillars of the material science, or we call it as the flow diagram of material science. So it starts with processing, and this particular processing, the casting, forming, or welding, you might also have seen the welder welding grill gates in households, right? So welding is also one such manufacturing technique. So what kind of materials are to be welded? And some materials, if they're welded, immediately they're going to crack. If you just give them a big blow with a hammer, it is going to shatter out. And similarly, glass is a ceramic, mirrors, right? So you cannot make a desired shape out of a glass by hammering technique. So if you want to choose the right manufacturing technique, you need to understand the science of that particular material. Then only you will be able to manufacture it. So this particular material science and engineering or metallurgy and material science branch is going to give you insights on the science of the material so that it is going to help you in choosing the right processing method. So the right processing method is always going to give you the right performance, and that is what is desired for any engineering application with good combination of properties. Yeah, Arun.
Now we'll see independently all the materials which we have categorized earlier. First one is ceramics, which are inorganic compound or of metal or metalloid, and non-metal with ionic or covalent bonds. You are familiar with these two figures, I guess. First one is SpaceX Dragon capsule, which has taken two astronauts from American soil after 10 years to International Space Station. And the second figure is space shuttle of NASA, Columbia Space Shuttle. And the speciality of these two re-entry or reusable concept is when it enters the atmosphere, as you can see the flame in the bottom of the space shuttle, high temperatures will be experienced for the structure. So like Dr. Chakravarti was mentioning, steel will not take this much temperature. It gets melted off by around 800 degrees Celsius. And beyond that also the temperature comes and affect the structure. So for preventing that, ceramics are being used. It can take up to 2000 to 2500 degrees Celsius. The portion where higher temperature is susceptible, those areas will be covered with tiles, ceramic, silicon carbide or silica phenolic tiles will be used for surviving that high temperature. Now metals, as you know, we are using it for structural applications for our launch vehicles and satellites, where satellites mostly we use composite, but metals are being generally used for the launch vehicle applications. Here you can see two figures where first figure shows the hemispherical dome of a fuel storage gas bottle or fuel storage vessel for a launch vehicle, and these are the fuse wires for different launch vehicle applications. So metals are being used where structural application is required. And polymers are substances which are very large molecules or called macromolecules formed by combination of monomeric materials, which you have learned in your chemistry textbooks, and different types of polymerization uh, fabrication or synthesis processes. Polymers, very like generally known as plastics, are very good in forming complex shapes as well as lightweight structures in place of metals and other ceramics, but which survives temperature very less only when we compare it with ceramics as well as metals. Now, composites, materials created by a combination of two or more dissimilar material and give a superior property than the combination of the combination materials are called composite materials. They are heterogeneous in nature and they need not have a chemical reaction between the constituent materials. Now, the advantage of composite materials are listed below: high strength, high stiffness, reduced at a reduced weight. So we call it strength to weight ratio in rocketry. And thermal insulation or conductivity. If you want an insulator, you can make use of a insulation property. If you want to make it a conductor, you have to add the conductive materials which are conductive enough to make the composite material a conductor. Then high wear resistance, toughness, reduced cost when you compare it with the metal, environmental degradation and resistance, acoustic insulation, attractiveness, and attractiveness in the sense you can make any complex shape, and energy dissipation, high fatigue life, which is very important in case of rocketry. Now, spacecraft or satellite have got many composite parts. Most of the 99% of the parts of a satellite is made of composite material, including the satellite basic structure, the antenna structures, and the reflectors, camera structures, the solar panel substrates, and etc. are being including cameras, are also being fabricated by means of composite materials. When we go to a launcher or a rocket, we have PSLV here, GSLV Mark II and GSLV Mark III. You can see the composite parts of a launch vehicle. This is called an adapter. If you can see the point there, this is called an adapter, where the satellite is being connected to the launch vehicle. The topmost portion is called payload fairing or heat shield, which is a housing for the satellite. We have nozzles, which are the thermal part are being prepared by means of composite silica phenolic composite, which survives high temperature up to 2000 degrees Celsius. We have the motor cases where our fuel, liquid and solid fuel are being stored. Rocket fuel is generally termed as propellant. So propellant storage is also done with composite parts. Now the big picture, we have Gaganyaan, which is one of the prestigious mission that is coming up, which is to which the entire material entity is contributing to around 60 to 70% because of the low weight which we require to carry to the orbit. You can see the spacesuit which is designed by DRDO and NAL, which survives the external severe conditions at space. And we have bigger plans of making a space station which is a scientific platform around Earth, similar to our International Space Station by around 2030. And we are planning to study Aditya mission. We are planning to study Sun by Aditya mission, which require high thermal resistant materials like mylar sheets with advanced like sun screening technologies. Then Venus mission is coming up, Shukriyan, which is going to survive very severe sulfuric acid conditions inside Venus atmosphere. So material science has got a huge prospect in space side or ISRO side. We have seen materials, the properties, the requirement of materials and applications. We'll just see the fabrication aspect also. As Dr. Chakravarti told, there are different type of fabrication methods for metals, ceramics, polymers, and composites. But one common aspect is 3D printing, which includes FDM, fused deposition modeling, stereolithography, digital light processing, etc., etc. So this actually forms the three-dimensional shape without a mold. That is the advantage of 3D printing, which gives the advantage of time also. The metal which is forged and worked on it and machined it and brought it to a particular shape can be printed. Even metals can be printed by means of 3D printing. I can show you a rocket, a Saturn V rocket, which was 3D printed by using acrylonitrile butyl styrene, ABS plastic. Actually, anything can be 3D printed in this way, and you can see the bottom figure shows the picture of a company, Relativity Space, who prints the entire rocket and flies it to outer space. Now, 3D printing is not a new thing. It has been into business for past 10 years. We have had entire rocket 3D printed. We have had CubeSat or satellites 3D printed. We have had satellite parts 3D printed. This is actually a star tracker. You can read star tracker for ISRO printed by Wipro 3D. It's actually from titanium alloy, titanium 6Al4V alloy, which Wipro, our Wipro tube lights and bulbs you might have heard, they have a 3D wing, 3D printed wing where they printed this thing for ISRO, and it is continuously being carried out. And you can see at the bottom there is a concept of lunar habitat 3D printing on moon's surface, which is put forth by European Space Agency. Now, talking about materials, we cannot avoid nano materials, which are one of the most important material which will mark as the name of the age as nano era, similar to silicon age and from stone age to silicon age, as we have mentioned earlier. This is going to be the future era, is going to be nano age, where nano materials are going to rule the market. And materials which are having at least one of the dimensions less than 100 nanometer is called nano is 10 raised to -9. So material having any of the dimensions less than 100 nanometer is called nanomaterial. For example, carbon nanotubes, carbon black nanospheres, then metallic oxide, exfoliated clays, etc. You can see the right side, you can see two cubical elements in which one is nanotubes are being filled in a cubical representative cubical element, and in the bottom figure you can see carbon nano spheres filled in a spherical area, and this is actually generally employed to ensure newer properties or improved properties where conductivity is required, where strength is required. As I have mentioned, in case of space elevator, high strength is required. For that also we are using nano materials, and combination of these nanomaterials with polymeric resin or metallic resin can give a composite material. Now, these are the areas of applications, as our Reverend Father in his inaugural address is explaining. There are different areas of application for material science, computer engineering, robotics, medical science, bionics, automobile industry, telecommunication, etc., etc., even in food industry also. So that means when you are learning this kind of a subject, material science, it has got huge prospect outside the academic world. Now, the latest term or the latest keyword in material world is smart materials. Materials which respond to external stimuli are called smart materials. You have heard about, you have come across squid which changes its body color, chameleon which changes its body color because of in accordance with the environment, touch me not plant which respond to a touch stimuli, the dragonfly, etc. So these are the things which we can look up from nature and learn in material aspect. These are smart materials or smart structures. Now, mimicking the actual natural smart materials, we have developed so many new materials, quantum tunneling, composite materials, which will sense the touch and give responses. And you might have seen the movie Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan movie, in which the Batman character is having a cloth hung behind its suit. It is called cape, and when Batman touches with his glove having electrical leads on the cloth, it will form the shape of a wing, which you are seeing in the figure. So that is termed as memory cloth in the movie. And bottom figure shows the picture of a automatic window which opens based on the moisture in the room. It is called hygroskin biomimetic structure, which was developed in France. And so these are all the properties of the material which respond to the stimuli that existing around the nature. You can see a beautiful lady having a bionic hand, which is actually a product of smart material. You can see a robonaut standing in front of an astronaut. This robonaut can perform all the activities which an astronaut can do, including sensing of the materials. And bottom figure is actually a very latest innovation in which the human body parts are printed by means of smart materials. And shape morphing materials which respond to an external stimuli and change its shape are called shape morphing material. This includes, first figure is wing of an aircraft, which will if you have noticed the lift of an aircraft while you were sitting in a emergency exit window in a flight, you might have seen the flaps going down and coming up while the aircraft is taking off and landing. So this can be achieved by making use of a morphing wing concept without much of a mechanisms, because mechanisms can fail anytime. And this is a property of a material which we are making use in this particular case. Then concept of deployment mechanisms for antennas. You can see the stored antenna which is deployed by passing of electric current. You can see solar panel deployment concepts. You can see mandrels and reflectors. This is actually drug delivery system in cancer cells. If you inject this particular material into the body, when it reaches the particular cancerous cell or the cell which is attacked by or caused by cancer, with cancer, this material will get stimulated and it will destroy that particular cell. That is what is shown in this figure. It will destroy that particular cell, and cancer can be like it can be a cure for the cancer. This is called a target drug delivery concept. Then smart UAV. UAVs and the drones are the latest news in aviation industry. So it is actually unmanned aerial vehicle which can be having a morphing wing, smart wing, which will help it to land and launch, land and take off from very short runways. And smart sutures are again a biomedical application of smart materials, shape morphing materials. Uh, Here actually we are talking about intelligent materials, materials similar to smart materials, materials that respond to a particular stimuli. First, the two figures are showing magnetostriction materials, which are responding to the change in magnetic poles. So it magnet is applied. When magnetic force is applied, the material will respond in a different manner. You can see the third figure in the first row. It is actually a metallic spring which is taking a load weight, and it is connected with battery. The metallic spring is made of an alloy called nitinol, nickel titanium alloy. When it is passed with electric current, it memorizes its original shape and is pulling the weight. So it is called a shape memory alloy. Now you can see the bottom figure where origami is being made use. Origami is the Japanese art of paper folding, where this concept is being used in our angioplasty stents. Angiogram, by angiogram, if you find a blockage in a vein or an artery, you will be taken up for an angioplasty where your stent will be, where a stent will be injected in your vein, which will go and open at the place where the blockage is there, and the block will be opened and blood flow will be normal. The last figure which you are seeing is last but one figure you are seeing is a fold and deploy system of a satellite reflector. It is actually for a it is actually a solar sail, not satellite reflector. It's a solar sail concept by NASA, which is a folded solar panel which is sent to outer space, and it will open. And adding to this intelligent materials, I can show you a video of a material which we have developed in our lab, which will read the letters IIST when it is, I think it is visible to you all. Current is passed through the material now. When electric current is passed through the material remembers its original shape, and it will go to its original shape, which will read the letters I, S, and T. So this is called shape memory material. This material which read IIST was prepared from polyurethane shape memory nano composite system. Now 4D materials, we cannot keep away this new concept of 4D printing, because 3D printed smart materials are generally termed as 4D materials. Materials which can be 3D printed and then subjected to a particular stimuli, giving a new shape, is called 4D materials. You can see a develop the surface of a cube 3D printed and subjected to a stimuli closest to form a cube. Similarly, 3D printed projection of a sphere forms the shape of a football. A spherical shape is formed. Similar to what we have seen with IIST, MIT has also done an experiment. Massachusetts Institute of Technology has done an experiment with a hydrogel, where they are putting printed gel in water, hot water, which forms the letters MIT by action of shape memory. Now, the future aspect or future prospects of the subject, as Dr. Chakravarti was mentioning, are into different branches of metallurgy, including extractive metallurgy, mechanical metallurgy, chemical, physical process, foundry, and enormous number of opportunities are available with metals itself. Then polymer chemistry, polymer industries, and composite industries, space as such, and nanostructured materials, smart material industries, and metallurgical failure analysis, archaeological metallurgy, etc., are the branches where once you complete the course of a metallurgical and material science engineering is completed, you can just look for the future prospects in these areas. And there are master's course in many institutions across India and abroad, including your including this Amal Jyoti Engineering College. That's all from our side. Actually, I would suggest you to read the book Stuff Matters by Mark McDonough. Actually, it is a wonderful book which will give an idea regarding materials, all kind of materials, in the form of a story, which will help you to develop interest in different, even in the smallest part of our daily life. We are dealing with so many materials, so that will help you to generate interest on all these aspects. Thank you. Questions we can take now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very interesting talk, which is very basic and very useful for all the students who are present out here. I really believe that everybody would be inspired by the like this world of materials. They are being exposed to this world of materials, and it will make many of them to pursue a career in metallurgical and materials engineering. So once again, thank you for the session. And now the session is open for questions.
I think one student named Akhilesh Kumar has asked a question as how to choose field of study during BTech. Maybe can I answer to the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, whenever you join for a BTech course, you are supposed to choose the discipline then and there itself. It is not like that you go for the first year and then choose your branch of study. So before you get into the, I mean, you get admitted to any BTech program, you have to exactly choose the branch of study that you wish to. And Mr. Shem Shetty has asked a question. What is the difference between shape memory and shape morphing materials? Does shape morphing materials include nitinol? Maybe Arun will be in a better position to answer this question.
Yeah, actually, nitinol is the name given by an American laboratory, which is nickel titanium alloy, which was developed in Naval Ordnance Laboratory in US. It is actually US marine based laboratory where they develop advanced materials. So nitinol is one of the shape memory material, shape memory alloy among so many alloys which are developed. For example, gold and cadmium alloys are also there, which gives the properties of shape memory. And nitinol is a thermal based shape memory alloy. When you increase the temperature, the shape memory nitinol will change its shapes to a original shape. It's actually shape memory is a property where one original shape is remembered even after transforming it to a temporary shape. For example, if you see this ball, we are having the original shape as in the form of a sphere. Okay, and we are heating it to a transition temperature. A temperature when this material can be transformed into a different shape is called transition temperature, when the material gets softened. So we are transforming it to an original, to a temporary shape. And in this particular case, when we leave itself, it opens up to the original shape. But the shape memory material will retain this crumbled shape. And once the crumbled shape is retained, we can work on it, or we can take it to any other places. And after that, once again, when we give the transition temperature, the material goes back to its original shape. So that means shape memory materials are materials which responds to the transition temperature or the transition stimuli. Some materials or some alloys and polymers respond to temperature, some will respond to water, some will respond to moisture, some materials will respond to the presence of chemicals, pH, etc. So those are shape memory materials. Shape morphing materials are materials which change shape when you give a stimuli, and when you release the stimuli, it automatically it can come back to its previous shape. That is called shape morphing material. Hope I answered the question.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So there are many questions regarding the scope of metallurgy as well as material science in India. Many participants are asking questions in this regard. So as a general point, can you have a glance on that topic?
Yeah, I'll be able to answer that
Yes.
question. See, after you graduate in metallurgy and material science, you have a lot of scope in industry as well as in the academic field. So, for example, if you take the steel sectors, like we have Steel Authority of India Limited, and we have many steel manufacturing units. You take Tata Steel, Bokhara Steel, you have Jindal Steel. If you want to get into these industries, they prefer generally metallurgists. So these industries deal into the way of making specialized steels for definite applications, and unless until you know the science of materials, you will not be able to actually work in that particular industry, be it a steel industry or a aluminum industry. We have Hindalco, Balco. So there are many other industries, like we have Sterlite, and we have some zinc extraction companies. So there are many companies which are into core metallurgy. So once you graduate in metallurgy and material science, you have a lot of scope in these industries. And it's not only in the private sector, you also have many prospects in government sectors also, like typically in ISRO. They also hire metallurgists. And in DRDO, you have a lot, and you have a Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, you have a National Aerospace Laboratories, you have many CSR labs like CGCRA, Central Glass Research Institute, and there are many other public sector institutes who require and hire metallurgists. So the prospects are not very limited, but you have a lot of scope after you graduate from metallurgy and material science, be it a private sector or a government sector. Say, for example, if you look into the private sector, like the aerospace sector, like Boeing or Airbus, or many small companies who supply to the major players such as Boeing and Airbus, all these companies require few metallurgists. Okay, so the prospects are very huge for this particular branch of engineering. And the other question is, 550 degrees centigrade temperature is a transformation temperature. I am not able to understand the question correctly.
So recently one question has come: what are the current trends in material science research and opportunities for non-engineering material science students? Like that one, another question is being posted recently, as well as the scope for material science in VSSC and ISR, and many of the participants want to get into ISR as well as VSSC. So they want to know how is it possible.
There is a centralized recruitment system called as ICRB, ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board, and there will be a typical vacancies for this particular discipline, and you will be asked to write a written examination, and then if you qualify the written examination, you will be given a job in ISRO. So even if you graduate in metallurgy and material science, you also have a good prospects in becoming a scientist in Indian Space Research Organization. So ISRO hires people from various disciplines, starting from civil engineering to electrical engineering to chemical engineering, right, to metallurgy. You have aerospace engineering, electronics engineering, computer science. So there are various branches of engineering, and mostly people specialized in these branches are required for Indian Space Research Organization. So I would not say that only metallurgists are required. There are many branches of engineering which are required for this Indian space program, out of which metallurgy is also one such branch, which is generally hired by Indian Space Research Organization.
Yeah, adding to that, actually, we have in ISRO two different kind of people who have had science background and people who had engineering background. So that is actually one area which we are looking at in always parallel to the production or the regular missions is research. So the people who are having scientific background or science background can come into that research area, and people who are in the engineering background can look for the production area also. So that is also a prospect for the science students rather than engineering people. Means when you compare it with the engineering people.
Sir, another question has come recently. Is there any opportunities to get into defense sector by opting for a course in metallurgical and materials engineering?
Of course, yes. Even we have a separate wing called as DMRL, Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, where pioneering research in the field of materials are being pursued there. So you have a lot of scope in defense sector, atomic energy sector, space sector. Like there is no dearth for opportunities once you graduate in metallurgy and material science.
So to add the
I
session, yes, sir.
I see a question. Does semantics have any relation with the morphing materials? Actually, I understand semantics is a part of vibration studies for structures. So it's actually in a structural level, it is connected, but shape morphing, we talk about the property of a material. So it is not connected directly. When you think in a structural view, it is connected, but shape morphing material as such, the property doesn't connect with semantics.
Sir, for the remaining questions, the participants can keep it posted. We will have a discussion in the future because already time is running out.
Fine.
So,
Maybe we'll just take
sir.
two or three questions, which is very important. So I think most of the questions pertain to the prospects of this particular course, which we have answered. But if there are any typical questions, we think we can answer them. Just give me 2 minutes. We'll just go through typical questions so that participants will be happy. I think ISRO recruits, but they don't allow branch particularly for metallurgy. No, it is wrong. ISRO also recruits people who are graduated from metallurgy.
We have a materials and metallurgy department also.
A scope of entrepreneurs in metallurgy. Of course, there are many who have their own startups after graduating in metallurgy. So there are entrepreneurs who have studied their metallurgy. And I think there are the same questions. Choosing metallurgy, is there any opportunities to get into defense? Of course, yes. And does bachelor mechanical engineers opt for masters in material science? Because some say material science is best for chemical engineers. So I leave it to their interest. I'll not be able to answer this particular question. I think most of the questions are with respect to the prospects of this branch of engineering, which most of them we have answered. And I don't see any typical question from the audience. There's one. I'm pursuing MTech and my field of study is 3D printing of superalloys. I want to know more about applications of such metal produced. Also, I want to serve and join ISRO. How to make that possible? So I think 3D printing is in a very nascent stage, at least in India and in advanced countries like US and Europe. They have started using the products made up of 3D printing for their flight components. And if you want to join in ISRO, I think you have to clear the examination and then you can come up. I think
one more thing, sir. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research is having studies on newer materials also. So ISRO is having a tie-up with them. So higher studies, people can look for that also.
So shall we? So the remaining questions can be posted in this chat box, and later we will try to answer as much as possible. So thank you, Arun sir and Chakravarti sir, for the inspiring the session and giving a new a way of thinking to all our participants to maybe perhaps they would be interested in choosing a career like in metallurgical and materials engineering like all of us we have done. So now I request Vishnu K.C., Assistant Professor, Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, to pursue the vote of thanks.
I think I would like I take this opportunity to thank the organizers, in particular Dr. John Felix Kumar and other co-organizers, for giving minds who are going to shape the future of India. And thanks a lot for this opportunity, Dr. Felix and other co-hosts. Yeah.
Over to Vishnu.
So thank you, Manisa. So can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So good evening all. So on behalf of the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Kamal Chodri College of Engineering, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to those who are directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar, which was organized by our institute. So at the outset, I thank our chief guest and the resource persons, Dr. Arun T.A., scientist, VSSC ISRO, and Dr. Chakravarti, Associate Professor, IIST Trivandrum. So we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence and finding the time in this busy schedule to be with us. So we are also thankful to our dear manager, Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, for the support given to us. I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to Father Rubin Thotupuram, Director AES, for providing us with the technical support. And also a special thanks to Professor K. Srikumar, former Group Director, MME Group, VSSC, and Dr. Rajeshan, Associate Professor, VIT, Vellore, for finding the time to attend this webinar. My sincere thanks to the organizing committee, teaching and non-teaching staff of our institute for their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to all the members for active participation. So with these warm regards, we move to the end of today's webinar. And before we are winding up today's session, I would like to remind all the participants about our next talk of the webinar series. So I'll be sharing the details of that one.
So just
So-
to interfere in between, all the participants are requested to complete the feedback form which is available in the chat box. It is just for the purpose of issuing the certificates of this webinar's particular session. So all the registered participants are requested to fill out the Google form which is available in the chat box. Please continue, Vishnu sir.
So our next talk as a part of this national webinar series will be the properties that cannot be predicted from the periodic table. So it is done by Dr. Shaju K. Albert, who is the Director of Metallurgy and Materials Group, IGCAR Kalpakkam. So the next session will be on 18th of July. The timing will be from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And all the participants who are already registered for the webinar, the details of the next talk will be shared to their mail ID as well as our Telegram group. And for those who are not registered, can kindly register through the brochure which has been shared with you. So thank you.
So thank you once again for all the participants as well as our distinguished speakers. So hope everybody has enjoyed the session, and next week we will meet on 18th of July from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. for the talk by Dr. Shaju K. Albert from Metallurgy and Materials Group, IGCAR Kalpakkam. So once again, thanking all of the participants as well as our distinguished speakers, Dr. Arun as well as Dr. Chakravarti sir, for their encouraging words, and we hope we will have a continued support from your side for enabling or for the betterment of our future by creating more and more people who are actually having a taste towards metallurgical and materials engineering. So once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, sir. So once again, reminding all the participants to kindly submit the Google form or the feedback form attached in the chat box. So we will just wait for 1 minute so that if the participants, they are still to see the Google form, they can find that in the chat box. So we are ending the session for today. So hope to see everyone on next Saturday evening, 3:30 to 4:30. So wishing you all a very nice weekend and a safe stay at your home as well as your workplace. So we will meet on the next week. So till then, it's Manu Herlar signing off from Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Kanjirappalli. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the session.
കഴിഞ്ഞു